workers. And of course, today's session would equally be recorded as well to ensure that whoever misses this session can always access it later to listen to the important updates that will be communicated. Some of the conversations that we had yesterday, I will just go through the questions that we treated yesterday. We treated the state of food security in Nigeria. We talked about it. We clearly talked about the role of farm staffing in securing the food security of Nigeria. Thirdly, we talked about the concept of trial and error that is currently happening in the farm staffing space. There's a lot of farms doing a lot of trial and error to have their workers' needs sorted, but that's not what we need. So we talked about how people are going about this concept of trial and error. We also talked about where these workers are concentrated, both in Nigeria and outside Nigeria. If you want to even look for workers, where are they concentrated? We talked about that and even how to get them. So, of course, these were things that were talked about yesterday, and of course, there were ample question and answer. You can always listen to the recording of that if you are in our WhatsApp group. Of course, we expect other people to join this call as the call progresses, but I don't want to waste any more time since this whole session will be recorded so that we can finish on time. My sessions are usually 1 hour or less, and so that it doesn't become too long, too bulky, as what we want to pass across to each other can be discussed in relatively few minutes or less than an hour, and then key points will be picked up from the conversation. So now today, basically, we'll look into the other side of yesterday's conversation, which I would be emphasizing. We'll be looking at how farm owners can employ staff in a structural way that would ensure that they don't spend too much, how to manage workers, on farm, and how to have them build trust with the owner of the farm enough to stay with that farm for a longer period. I'm going to highlight some of the challenges as well that is common in the farm staffing space. What are the common challenges that people experience in the farm staffing space, and what are the best solutions that can be put in place to see great results? And then, of course, I will talk about what DevSA is doing and how DevSA is hoping to solve all this farm staffing crisis. Now that I've highlighted the things that will be discussed, the first thing I would like to ask is, if you don't mind, sir, what is your name and what farm do you farm, or what do you farm on your farm? Hello, sir. Did you hear what I said, sir? Hello. Yes, it's the line is breaking, but I just want to confirm what your name is, sir, and what you farm.
Hello,
Hello, can you hear me, sir? Hello.
I'm with you.
Yes, I was asking what is your name, sir, so I can address you by your first name, sir. And what do you farm? All right, welcome to the call. Can you hear me? I 0703784. Sorry, I don't yet know your name. Can you hear me? You just muted yourself. Can you hear me? So I can be sure you can hear me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I can hear you, sir.
All right, so sir, if you don't mind, what is your name and what do you farm?
My name is Abayomi,
Okay,
and
what do you
we
farm?
plant. We have what we plant.
Yeah, what you plant?
Yes, are into fruit vegetable,
Food.
sweet pepper, habanero, tomatoes, and then we plant oil palm.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yes,
Oh,
sir.
that's nice. Mr. Bayomi, I've taken that. I won't be calling you by your number anymore. I think I prefer using the name. All right. So
Oh,
before you came in, I was explaining that this whole session started yesterday to the first participants, and we were able to look into certain breakdown. Example was the state of food security in Nigeria, the role of farm staffing in securing food security in the country, the concept of trial and error in the farm staffing domain. I also talked about where um, farm workers are concentrated in Nigeria and outside Nigeria and how to get them. And it's quite very important that people are able to know all of these things as it help them structure their farming system for the year. To get answers to all of these things, I've actually stated a recording was done and was posted in our farm owners forum on WhatsApp so that people can get access to that link and listen to that. Today, we'll be talking majorly on how to manage efficient and cheap staffing system where you can spend less and not spend too much in your farm staffing plans. Now, how do you manage all of that? We'll also be talking about the common challenges that a lot of people face in the agricultural sector with staffing and how it can be solved as much as possible. Of course, and we equally talked. We'll talk about what structure DevSA is putting to ensure that staffing is easy for people to actually have it all year round, and of course, how can you build good relationship with your staff? So those are what we'll be looking at today. I'll be speaking for about 30 minutes, after which we'll examine question and answers from each other. I'll get to understand what you do and how we can definitely help you achieve your own aim as regarding farm staffing. And then if we can, of course, we will. If we can't, we will tell you what best approach we would actually use if we were in your shoe that can put you on the right step. All right. So, of course, the general topic we're still looking at today is the same topic we did yesterday, which is how and where to get workers for your farm in 2024. How and where to get workers for your farm 2024. All right. With that stated, I would like to know the new person. 0708730. Do you mind unmuting and let us know your name, and what farm you have? What kind of farm do you farm? What kind of product do you farm?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Olabi Maiwa. I'm in I'm in Lagos currently, but I just graduated, so I'm currently doing my own YSL. So when I was in school, I was into cassava and maize farming, but I recently stopped because of the some losses that came up, and I'm planning on going back into it. That's what I've been trying to like see what other part.
All right, Mr. Mayowa, I've gotten that. Um, Initially, I was the first attendant to the call. I've still not gotten your name, sir. But I notice your network is a bit better now. Do you mind introducing yourself and the farm you have, sir? 0802335.
Okay, hello, it's my name. Good evening, all.
Good evening.
I'm into sheep. Um, I have some sheep and goats, but I'm trying to do it in a large scale. That's
Oh,
why I'm part of this.
yes, I didn't pick the name again. Could you repeat the name? I got sheep and goat though.
That's why you're
Ayo.
yeah.
All right, Mr. Ayo. Thank you.
Ayo.
Of course, thank you, Mr. Ayo. I've gotten that, Mr. Bayomi, Mr. Ayo, and Mr. Mayowa. Thank you so much for joining the call. So let's go straight to what we are trying to say. Meanwhile, as I said, this call is being recorded, or this conversation is being recorded. In case any parts network glitch you out in any part of it, you can always pick the link and listen later. So, how to actually manage a cheap and efficient farm staffing model? Okay, it's very simple. You need to understand what you're doing first, right? So, in every farming system, there are the periods of high demand for labor, and there are periods of low demand for labor. Like a man asked yesterday, he told me candidly, and he said that um, he actually is going into, he said about 10 acres yesterday, oil palm 10 acres. He wants to do oil palm and intercrop it with maize and cassava, and he's going into 10 acres thereabouts. And he was asking, how can he employ efficient staff for it? I told him, I said, if I were in your shoes, right, this is the approach I would have taken. I would actually hire two staff, full-time staff, that can be on the farm month in, month out, all year round if possible, and then manage it the operations on the farm. However, I'm going to bring in other daily hand or weekly hand that during periods of high need for high number of staff or the work of, like, they can't just stop doing it. They have so much affinity for such work. You need to understand this kind of work. Okay, what day are their morals high and what days are their morals low, right? Okay, if one of them is not feeling the best way possible, what are you doing to help them get back on their feet? Building relationship with your staff is how to retain them. You want high retainership, and high retainership comes from you having good relationship with your staff. To be candid, some of them can be unreasonable sometimes, right? However, over time you would sift out and have the best people. Yesterday I talked about sorting through the batches, right? And I usually use that statement to talk about when you want to pick from a pool of let's say maybe 50 people, you want to pick five best people. Naturally you would sift through the batch, and once you have a good policy, farm staff policy, the right staff will stick to you. All you have to do is have good relationship, be human in how you treat your staff, right? A lot of people, I go to some farm and the way their staffs are being treated, to be candid, we don't actually give them follow-up staff. If we give you a staff and then you treat the staff badly and they leave, we're not giving you more staff because we've seen how you're treating them. Except to tell you that this is what you're doing and we see signs of changes, then we give you follow-up staff. Why are we doing that? Because we know if we don't do that, those character sets can rub off on our general pool of staff. And since a lot of them know each other, it can affect our project with other people as well. So you have to invest heavily in relationship building because if you're going to sort out through bad and unreliable workers, you need to have a standard that differentiates your farm business from the alternatives. There are many farms where workers will live there and say, okay, I want to go and work somewhere else. They have better offer, they have better money, they have better this and that. But after going to that place, there are instances where the workers will come back to you and say, Oga, can I still work under you? What happened is the case that they've gone for greener pastures, only to realize that it is only brown pastures, it's not green. And when they realized it was brown pastures and empty pasture land, they decided to come back to where the pasture is green. So it's only relationship building that can help you ensure that your pasture is green. So build relationship with them. There are little things that matter. Look at what those things are. Inexpensive things or not expensive things. Inexpensive thing. We once have a client who usually on weekends usually just spoils the worker with taking them to eateries, and they always be calling us and be gushing over the phone. Well, as long as the client, the farm owner has such money, why not? Is all part of relationship building. And of course, the workers right now did not want to leave his farm. We're even struggling to take them out of the place, right? But that is how reality is. Whatever it is you need to do it, as long as your number game is is in a positive light. What I mean is, as long as you are not making a loss, you are free to build a relationship the best way you know how to. Someone joined recently. Welcome, sir. Do you mind introducing your name or letting us know your name and what you farm? So everyone get question answer, we can tailor questions to you.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir. Welcome.
My name is Ejalo Ganyo.
All right, sir.
My family is at Ishekiti.
All right.
Right now, I'm in the middle of Europe. I live in Europe.
All right, sir. What do you farm, sir? What do you farm? What do you farm? I didn't get what you farm. What do you farm again? I didn't get that.
Palm tree.
Palm trees, palm trees. Okay, okay, okay. Palm trees, palm trees. That's okay, Mr. Agunjobi. Yes, that's okay. Palm trees. All right. All right. Mr. Agunjobi, would get back to um attending to questions. I just quickly want to know your name so that when I need to address you, I can know how to address you properly. But in the next 5 10 minutes, Yes, yes. Next 5 10 minutes, we'll open up the floor for communications. All right. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. All right. 081065. Can you unmute to introduce yourself? If that would not be much bother, can you unmute to introduce yourself and what you farm? 081065. Thank you. Introduce yourself, your name, and what you farm. Thank you.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Good evening. So, what's the
Yeah,
name?
my name is Akede Tolulope.
Tolulokpe, right?
Yes,
All
yes,
right.
I'm
What do you
listening.
farm?
I'm not started. I just want to start. I just finished my NYC late the last year, December. So I just want to start something like planting of vegetable.
Beautiful, beautiful vegetables, Miss Tolulokpe. Of course. Thank you so
Yes.
much. You can mute now. When we are done, when I'm done with the briefing, we can then go into conversations. I'm currently recording this session, so any part you've missed before now, I will post the link in our farm worker forums, and then you can pick the link to listen to this and yesterday's session as well. Thank you. All right. So
Thank
as
you,
I
sir.
was saying, you have to build relationship with your staff, and that will keep them when everything is not right. So outside that as well, the another thing we look at now is the challenges. What are the challenges that are prevalent in the agricultural sector that affect the whole farm staffing terrain? Of course, one of the things that are common there is the money factor. I won't lie to us, it is literally like part of the top problems that is affecting the agricultural sector. And I would explain because, of course, we are so before DevSA was created as a company, we actually have been in the agriculture sector for about 7 to 8 years, and we've worked across multiple locations before we now decided to bring up DevSA. And in that when we started initially, we usually pay when you get workers on Benway, you pay them around 120 to 150,000 naira per year minus feeding, and then you feed them all through the year. Typically, you spend around 120,000 in a year to feed them, 80 to 120,000 to feed them in a year. Aside the feeding as well, of course you transport them down and you pay agent fee. But everything give and take at the end of the year is within 320 to 350,000, and you're done with these all expenses. And that is it. But then of course Cotonou workers were being employed for around them with a bike. You at the end of the season you buy them a bike. Welcome, Mr. Akintoye. Nice having you on the call. You can kindly mute until the question and answer time. Thank you. So basically, recruit on workers back then, you buy them bike. As at that time, bike was around 250,000, 250,000 per year. Of course, you get to feed them as well. See, almost relatively same price, give and take. Difference between having Benue workers and or Calabar workers and Kuton workers. Difference with within 50,000 naira thereabout back then, as far back as 7 years ago. But over that between that time and now, a lot has changed in the value that you spend on farm staffing. In the current period right now, you spend not between 550 and 1 million on farm staffing, depending on the geopolitical region these workers are coming from and their expectations. These are things that determine how you spend. For example, Cotonou workers bike at the moment, if a lot of people are running from Cotonou and Togo workers because of the bike. Because currently right now, bike is around 700,000, 800,000, depending on the brand you are buying, right? And you still have to feed these workers that may run into 200, 300,000. So it's very, very important uh, that you look into these factors and not exceed them in terms of applying the money. They are high, and except you know how to manage them, they will mean a whole lot of loss for farming. Now, when you now even come to the Benue side, right, or the Hausa workers or South workers, you're looking at an average of between 500 and almost 700,000 in total money you spend in a year. So you can see that farm staffing had come from a long line of price improvements or price increments from a period where you're spending less than 50,000 naira annually, including feeding and everything, to a point where you're spending over 550,000 to 700,000, even up to 1 million for uh, workers in total value. The question is, how much are you producing from your farm? How much commodity are you expecting from your farm? If you're going to hire a worker that will cost you up to 1 million, the most important thing that you must calculate is, are you making up to 1 million net profit, not revenue, net profit from that farm? So if your farm is not making up to 1 million naira in revenue, why hire a staff that will consume up to 1 million naira at the end of the year? If you're doing only 1 acre or less than 2 acres in terms of crop, what's your business in having a staff that will cost up to 1 million? Because I don't know what you're producing, but I can promise you that 1 million cannot be your profit in 1 year if you're having less than 2 acres, except you are producing things like pepper, and that pepper, it's a very structural farm that has a recurring production cycle. And that's the only way that can even make sense for you, because of course, even with as little as 3 plots, you can make substantial revenue from pepper, tomatoes, and all those exotic products. But that's if you have a guaranteed marketing and farming structure. Those things guarantee results. So pricing is something that is very, very common and is one of the biggest challenges in the agriculture sector. So what we've tried to do, right, to help ensure that is hire smart and pay them smartly. When I mean hire smart, I've talked about it earlier. Don't hire more than what you need. That's one. Two, where you need workers to do a certain task, don't hire workers that will stay the whole month. And if you want to hire workers, don't hire workers for the whole year, where you know that there will be a lot of blank space in between. So, for example, you know that your peak month is February, March, April. After then, it is now August, September, October. Then why hire workers for the remaining months? Why not have worker coming around January or February, leave around April ending, and then come back again around August and leave again by October, so that you don't spend more than what you need to spend. Now, if that's not the case, if your work is even now scattered, why not hire workers that will come, use a week, do A, B, C, and be gone? So in that 1 week, maybe you hire 5 workers in a week, they are clearing, or they stay 1 month in your farm all through. In that 1 month, they will clear, they will reach, they will plant, and then they will be gone, right? And then you have a system where you bring them in every month, once a week, every month, to come and do maintenance activities on your farm and go back. Now that is you adapting in a way that will make you earn profit and grow your business. And that is when it comes to the pricing model. That's the best way we believe you can solve price model. However, you need to have a very good structure and consistent place where workers are coming in from. Yesterday, I talked about the fact that you can get workers yourself. Of course, while we provide staff for people, we don't disregard the fact that it is possible to get this staff yourself, and we actually advise that if you can, please do. As I won't lie, we are a company, so we don't do it for free. We have system that we've put in place to ensure that the company over time generate revenue to become sustainable. But beyond the revenue, the goal for us is to ensure that we stop all this trial and error in agricultural business, particularly when it comes to farm staffing, and have dependable and structural staff over time that can do efficient job across many people's farm. Another challenge again we usually have with people, what farm workers, is that they run away for no good reason. No good reason. Some reasons might be genuine, yes, I won't lie. But there are some workers you run away and you're like, what? Today, and I'm not lying, right? Today, one of my staff left a farm in Benin at Abraka. So there's a cassava farm in Abraka that they are working on right now. Four staff rather left Abraka back to Benin today. Why did they leave? It was simple. I was telling him over the phone that they want to remove 3,000 from his money, and when he told them that why, and they told him that that's how they to remove it, he got mad, and because of that, he's on his way back to Benin. He told me he was going to call me tonight to explain the whole full gist for me. I'm willing to hear, but it sounds like because 3,000 was touched in your money, you didn't even call and say, okay, let us sort that 3,000. Understand why and stop it, so you can keep doing your work. But all of a sudden now, all of that alone, you are angry already on your way to Benin, and that's 3,000 naira to Benin from Abraka. You're going back again. If we sort and you have to go back again, that's another 4,000 naira. You didn't think about all of those costs before you just get mad and leave, or get angry and leave and want to go back to Benin. But as I said, workers leave for every reason you can imagine. They can run away for any simple reason. And you know something that you can entire when we started, our goal was to have as low, when I mean low, I mean like maybe 5% tops runaway factor. That was what we started with. But by the time which was November, we're already averaging around 40%, 30 to 40% runaway factor from staff. And that's despite the fact that we've got so much multilateral structures that it has not been seen in many places at least in the Nigerian farm staffing terrain. I don't know about outside Nigeria, but in the Nigerian staffing terrain, we have testimonials that our structure is literally one of the most structured farm or unskilled farm staffing structure out here in the country. Despite all of those metrics that favor both farm owners and staff, workers still get to run themselves, and that's something that you can't eventually stop. So it's a major challenge. But how have we reduced down to less than 40% in terms of the value? That means more than, if we give you 10 workers, you are likely to have six of them out of 10 stay. And that is a retainership that, of course, we still see it as something, because, of course, we keep sifting through them. And those that are running, we're creating a data for them and we're sifting through them. In the past 1 year, we've hired and designated over 107 staff to over 20 farms in across the south, not major in the north, just south, southwest, south, there basically. And of course, all the workers that ran away, we highlight their data that shows what causes all of those activities. We can improve on them, get better at them, and improve them. So if you are expressing that on your farm, what do you do? The first thing you want to understand is that when workers run away, you need to ask yourself, what have I done the past few months that might have encouraged this? You have to be honest with yourself. If you have difficulty being honest, you can call me. I don't mind. Tell me about everything. I would help you weigh into it and see if there's something we need to change on your side. And if there's nothing on your side, then we know it's coming from their side. So if after talking we couldn't find it, I don't mind. If you can sponsor me to your farm and back, fine. I look for a day I'm free on my calendar, I go to your farm, I check. We evaluate the challenges your farm is having. You have to understand if this problem is coming from you or not. If it's coming from you, then it has to change so that you can have good retainership of staff. But if it's coming from them, then how do we ensure that whenever they want to do, we discourage this act of running? Or if possible, don't even hire people that are likely to run. Now, that's two. Three, when they now eventually even run, how do you protect your interests, your equipment, your farm to ensure that they don't run away and put you in more troubles than you need to be in, right? So the solutions there are evaluation to see whose party needs to be worked upon and how to ensure that your equipment and tools are not missing. And that's where you can use credibility, guarantor. We always use guarantor in our own processes. Always take the use of guarantor before employing any worker, and let the guarantor be willing to literally give you a background for these people. So if they run away, at least if they steal anything, there can be certain mix in it. You can't it won't just go entirely. If it's going to even go, it has to be structural, right? Why something cannot be fully prevented, they can be managed, and that's the truth about that. What other challenge again is in the agricultural sector, right? You see, unforeseen expenses. Unforeseen expenses like your workers fought with somebody, there's an injury, or they went to the wrong places that they got arrested, or your workers keep falling sick, right? Or your workers are working and then all of a sudden there is a snake bite or something. How do you plan for all of these unforeseen challenges in a farm? It's very, very important. Some ways you can plan for it is have caution fee saved somewhere, right? It's very, very important. Not because you plan that it should happen, but because you don't want to be stranded. Two, if after a challenge like, let's say, theft come up, and then your worker is caught in the middle, after investigating and see that they are the one that is responsible, give them a warning and have sanction on their money. You have to have sanction structure so that your workers do not go out of the limb and act without reasoning. It's something that is common for many workers. Have sanction structure where there are fines and sanctions for main disobedience and irritating qualities as characters. Have those to checkmate them. Also ensure that you are able to investigate in a way that doesn't look like you're trying to witch hunt, right? And that's particularly when you have more than two, three, four staff on your farm. If you don't do it very well, they start looking at you like you're witch hunting. You don't want to be perceived that way. Now, that's something you have to look into. What other problem is in the agriculture sector again? There's problem of poor targets, meeting targets. Some workers will tell you that they are working and from morning to night, they are not doing anything. You could tell them everything they have to do in a day, and they only do maybe one out of 10 things, and they'll tell you that they have done it. How do you checkmate that? The simple solution is house supervisor, whether full time or part time house supervisor. You might not even go if you know you can't get structural ones, those that are going to be structural. Of course, get those that are from the nearest village to you. Find someone that understand how to articulate updates and give the person certain tip per month that will allow the person go there maybe twice a week to check what's happening and give you reports. Go there unannounced, check if they're on the farm, check what they are doing, or person could come on there and stay all through 6 hours and see what they are doing, or 8 hours. After it's done, makes the evaluation sent to you, right? These are ways you can checkmate laxity from the workers. And these are common challenges you can see in the agricultural farm staffing segments. Now, lastly, how is Dofma trying to help all of these things? Well, one thing we've taken away in our model is that transport from their house. Which we've taken that away from bulk of our staff. So more than 70% of our staff, when they are being employed, owners don't need to pay for all those 40, 50,000, 30,000 that they pay for their transport. You usually know what we experience in our own. We usually don't charge things. It's not like we don't pay it. We pay it, we just don't charge clients for it. Right? We pay it, but we don't charge clients for it. The only transport the clients get to pay is, of course, most of our workers, we have different section where we aggregate workers across the southwest. We aggregate workers in Benin, we aggregate workers in Akure, we aggregate workers in Ikorodu, we aggregate in Songo, we aggregate in Ibadan as well. So we have places where we aggregate workers at. When that means when they come from the north, or they come from the south, or they come from Cotonou or Togo, that is the place that they get to first. We are the one that actually handle their transport to that place. Then when you now request for workers, it is from that place straight to your farm. We pay for you, or we charge you for, and we just charge to and fro for it, because after the workers come, if you are displaced with them, we refund you the deposit you paid for their salary, and our state system is monthly. Sadly, it is something that we know doesn't favor a lot of people, but that's the method that we're able to use to ensure that we reduce loss both for farm owners and for ourselves. So it's monthly system. So if the workers come, you don't like that after 2 weeks, we refund you back 2 weeks salary that you've paid in advance, and then workers leave your farm because you've paid to and fro of their transport. They get to leave and come back to the primary base of where we actually pick them from, and that's where they stay to have a new station for them. Just structures, nothing more. Of course, we have other complementary products that we give to different farms to ensure that they're able to manage day-to-day operations in their farm. So that's Dofma in a nutshell. So now that I've done that, I have literally run through all I want to run through today in addition to what was communicated yesterday. Kindly listen to yesterday's session, and I'm certain that when you join them side by side, this will be a good, complete knowledge that would help you manage on how you go about getting your staff, or where to get them from, and how to even manage them in 2024. And that's the summary on that space. With that stated, I want to appreciate everyone for listening. This is a part where I get to ask if there are any questions as regarding farm workers, or there are challenges you've experienced that you would like to talk about and you want us to weigh into it together. So the floor is open. Who would like to go forward? I know we have Mr. Bayomi on the call, Mr. Egunjobi on the call. We've got Mr. Mayowa on the call as well. I think, and Mr. Akintoye. Yes. Yes. So does anybody want to go forward? Want to ask a question, or want to know something about farm staffing, or have some experience they want to share that they may like the house to weigh in on? I can
Good
hear
evening,
you, sir.
sir.
I can hear you, sir. Good evening, sir.
Okay, the issue I want to know is that when you give them the farm, maybe tomorrow or afternoon, we free the worker, go another place to go and work without your knowledge. How can we solve that problem?
All right. The challenge
But
of
there are some people from those people from Benue. Because before I used to do people from Benue, they used to do that. Later, they first of all finish your farm, later they go to another place to go and work. After 2 3 days, they will not go to your farm. They start to be walking around to another people's farm.
All right, all right. Thank you so much. So we've experienced that. Thank you for bringing that up. I didn't write it down, but of course we've experienced that a lot. So how do you manage duplicity in your staff, particularly when it comes to loyalty to a particular farm? So yesterday, if you listen to record like yesterday, you will see that one thing I highlighted about people from Benue, Nasarawa, and Jos, that's Plateau. That's workers, farm workers that come from those places. Of course, they might not be a good judge of the people's character, but I'm talking about the farm workers that comes from those places primarily. They are they tend to be greedy. They can be loyal but greedy. Not loyal in terms of your workers, your work alone, but they tend to be greedy in terms of they want to make as much money as possible. And because they are naturally they have strengths. I won't lie to you. Many workers from those places have got strengths, strengths that you can measure, right? And because they know how to really farm. Last year I had tour across the north, gathering image for farm workers. So people from Jos, Benue, Nasarawa, they know how to do the work. They are skilled at it, and that strength pushes them to go all out and earn extra revenue from the work that they do. So how do you now manage it? Okay, there are two ways to manage it. As I said, you can either have a supervisor that is full time there, instructing them, particularly when you have more than 4 5 workers. There are two ways you can have that supervisor. Either supervisor would come there specifically as supervisor to manage them, or you bring in a worker that also does day-to-day work on the farm. However, has higher job description and role than others, and is paid differently. And is part of his job description would be managing other workers and reporting for them on a by daily or weekly format. And if those other workers should mess up or have issues, he will be sanctioned if that information is not presented early enough, right? I would appreciate if we can mute our speakers. When we want to speak, we can unmute and speak so that we don't have a lot of interference. I'm currently recording this session. So basically, you can use that approach to manage your workers' availability on your farm. Another thing you could also do is you could also make sure that you have someone from the nearest village place a eye on people that are working. They go at intervals to the farm to see what they are doing at the farm and give you reports. That report could be by daily, but it has to be shaken up. Let's say it goes on Monday this week, next week. Instead of going on Monday, it could go on Tuesday next week. If it's going Monday and Wednesday, the next one could be Tuesday and Saturday. It shakes things up within 2 3 weeks. You're able to detect. Once you see that, you emphasize that there are sanctions before they ever start working with you. There are sanctions for these sort of characters, and when you see it, you apply the sanction. And if they are not yielding, don't waste time. Change the staff. Don't put empathy to it, because at the end of the day, you make loss, and when you make loss, they will leave you. They will go work for someone else because they already understand that there are many people they can work for. So if you give them 1 2 sanctions on that same topic and they are not changing, change them immediately. As a matter of fact, I always advise that when you're hiring workers, while you hire long time in oriented staff like the monthly, annual, quarterly kind of staff, always have pen pal access to daily, weekly wages kind of people. So you can call them at any interval to come and work on your project. Should in case you need to fire the long time workers for on an impromptu firing or something, they can quickly fill in the gap until you find a new replacement. And that is how I think that sort of things can be stopped. Because once greed is in a man, there's little you can do to literally take it out of the person entirely, except to have proper management system that helps you monitor those laxities. I hope I was able to answer your question, Mr. Egun Jobisa. Mr. Egun, are you there? I hope you're muted. You're currently
Yeah,
muted.
yeah.
All right, wonderful, wonderful. Does anyone have any other question or scenarios they want to run by about their staff? Any question about farm staffing, acquiring, managing? Mr. Kintoye, good evening. I can't hear you very well. Could you speak a bit louder? I can hear you better now. I can hear you better now. You're most welcome, sir. Good evening, Mr. Wale.
I'm very, very, though I'm only, so the network is not actually good because I normally can hear very well.
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Very, I joined just about 2 minutes ago,
Of
so I
course.
don't know how far you have
No,
actually gone.
we are done talking. We are just taking questions and scenarios on farm, so we can solve whatever questions comes up. There's a recording you can listen to it later. However, in the meantime, what challenges were you experiencing in your farm last year?
Okay, sir. I just want to ask about financing the staff. We don't get staff from you. What is it? What's the likely cost per staff per month or per week? I don't know whether you have actually spoken about that.
Oh, no. I didn't talk about our pricing model, as that is not the direct scope of this session. But I can always talk about it. Our monthly staff, we don't do annual because you bring workers in, they run away after 2 months, and then you've paid half payment of their money ahead of time. It's unnecessary money, and we don't want to do that. So what we do typically is we run monthly, right? And in that monthly, if you need to change them, it will be easy to fire and rehire. And that way, your farm has consistent workers working all year round. So, and you're not loyal to a staff, you're loyal to your farm. So, if any worker is not doing good enough and you sack him, and that one comes in with time, so and it's easier because it's monthly system. So after you're done with the end of the month, yeah, we could be going, take your money and be gone. So currently every month our our staff, we charge for 5,000 per month. But this is the upside. You don't pay transport from the north. We are the one that brings workers down from the north, right? And we've already have an arrangement. We have guarantors in the north and we have guarantors in the south. So when we bring our workers, we bring them and put them under the various leaders in the south. So, for example, if we were bringing a worker from, let's say, Gombe now, we would have identified a Gombe leader in the south. And when we bring that workers come down to that Gombe leaders region. So he's placed under the leadership of that Gombe leader. And that leader is where, of course, we now take them to where they need to go and work. After giving them the rules and regulations, document them and align them properly. And then when they go there, we have an arrangement where we remove their transport money from the work that they do with us over a span of time. That's the reason bringing them from the north. So all you just get to pay is the transport from that place. Which, if you are, let's say your farm is in Abeokuta now, for example, the nearest station would the workers might be coming from. In your own case, would be maybe Songwater or Ilaro, right? So the money you get to pay is only transport from a someone like Ilaro or Songo now, for example, to your farm. That's the only money you'll be saddled with to pay. No money from the north. We are going to take care of that one as we have an arrangement for that already. So your own is just pay for that transport and you pay for their monthly salary. So what we do is if you request today now, it takes 2 weeks to 3 weeks for the workers to come to your farm, right? That's the duration typically. Once you request and you make your initial payments, 2 to 3 weeks is the duration timeline for your workers to arrive. Now, what we actually charge you for, we'll give you an invoice for a full month and the transport from the nearest station to your farm. However, you don't pay you only deposit half of that money the invoice carry. So if let's say you're employing two workers that we are charging for 5,000 per month from you for, that's 90,000. Let's say transport to your farm, logistics is around for two of them is around, let's say, 15,000 naira plus the supervisor that will follow, that will bring them directly to your farm. Now, what you get to pay at the end of the day is half of that 90,000 for the two of them and the transport logistics. That's what you pay in advance. And then the remaining balance of that salary, of that monthly salary, you pay it 2 weeks into their work on the farm. So of course that's after you've seen how they work and you're satisfied. So you now pay the remaining balance 2 weeks into their work in your farm. And then subsequently you pay their full salary before the end of the second week every new month. Because what we do for them is we send them their feeding on weekly and bi-weekly basis recurrently. And at the end of the month, we pay them whatever is remaining minus their feeding that we pay them during the month. And that's their money. So if they are inefficient at the end of the month, we can sack them and tell them that, oh, the owner of the farm cannot manage you anymore. Please be gone. And then we'll start looking for new workers for that place. What do you say, sir?
What about their feeding?
It's part of their money. It's part of their money already. The feeding is part of the 45,000 naira.
I didn't hear you.
Their feeding is already included in the 45,000 naira.
It is important for us to know.
Yes. It's quite very important as their feeding is very key. So what we do for them typically is, in their money, we send them certain amount of money on a bi-weekly or weekly basis, depending on how near that place is to where they can buy what they need. If where they'll be living is a stretch to the nearest either market or where they can buy food material, we can give them 2 weeks worth of money for feeding at once, and then they're going to get the food they need. And then if the place is near, we give them weekly instead. What we are doing is because we are trying to manage liquidity in their hand before the end of the month so they don't run away. It's very, very important. These are part of things we've put in place to manage all those runaway factors. And beside that as well, we also try to ensure that if there are no more liquidity in their hand, they don't tend to, we already carry their transport. So we have structures to ensure that we are able to extract those money over time and recuperate wherever it is we've taken the money for their transport from. I think those are the questions as regarding how the feeding is done.
Thank
I
you
I hope that was clear enough.
very well, very well.
Wonderful. Are there any other questions? We are at 1 hour already. We need to wrap up. Okay, if there are no more questions, as I said, this session is recorded and the link we posted on our farm workers forum on WhatsApp. If you're not there, of course, we'll try and share the link across board so you can be there. Of course, we'll try and come up with more important things to look out for in the farm staffing space and even outside the farm staffing space. And as we have them, we'll share them with you, and you can participate in all of this as much as possible. If you have someone that is experiencing staffing challenge, of course, we are more than happy to help them examine what the problem is so they can find lasting solution to their challenges. With that stated, thank you so much for your attendance, your presence. Together this year, we will succeed in agribusiness. All right. All right. Now, have a wonderful day, everyone. You're most welcome. You're most welcome. And you too. Bye. Yes. Are you saying something? Hello. Okay. I think that's it basically. We can leave the call. You are free to leave the call.